Okay, good morning. It's Ruby McGuire, and I'm here with Sophie Jewry, aka Queen of Brand, and we're going to be talking about rocking your visibility. Now, Sophie is very visible in her business, and I thought she'd be a brilliant person to talk to because she's got so many things that she does that will really inspire and motivate you. So, Sophie, before we start, let's hear a little bit about you and what you do, and then I can start asking you a few questions.
Okie dokie. Well, I am Sophie Jewry, and I essentially have two different aspects to what I do at the moment. So I've got design and print, which I've been doing since 2003, so forever. So I help people every day with getting their business message across with all their printed materials and design and bits and pieces like that. And that fed into me then creating the Brand Kitchen, which was a way of educating people, business owners, as to what branding is in a simple way, a fun way, because there were so many people that I was finding I was working with and meeting who were trying to go down the kind of graphic design route, and they didn't really know what to ask for, what they needed to look for, all that sort of stuff. So it was trying to help them understand branding so that they could then get their message across much more effectively. And it's becoming more and more important these days. In the last 10 years, it's changed, and it's becoming more and more important all the time. It's quite a buzzword at the moment, branding, especially personal branding and all of this sort of stuff. So essentially, I take all the jargon stuff and try and make it a little bit more easy to understand so that your average business person, whatever size business you've got, can really get that message across much better, and then attract the clients they want to work with, get more profit, yada, 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 and then create a bit of a better work-life balance. I love planning and all of that sort of stuff. It's just great fun.
I'm going to come on to you about the planning in a little bit. Okay, fantastic. So in terms of being visible, what would you say is the one thing that's actually held you back, whether that's now or in the past? What's held you back? Gosh,
well, when I go right back to when I first started out in business, I was only 2021. I had a 9-month-old, and I didn't have any A-levels, and I didn't have a job. So I was very invisible at that time and unconfident and everything else. And then I met various different people and started doing some handmade greeting cards and started getting visible in that way, in old school, which was knocking on doors of all the shops locally to say, would you buy some of my handmade cards on sale and return? I'll give you 10 cards, and I'll come back next week, and if you've sold them, you can pay me. So I'd drive like half an hour. Very good business sense.
For now, from day one, really.
Yeah. So I'd drive and I'd sell like 2 cards. They'd pay me about £4, which didn't even cover the fuel. But that was how I first started getting visible, and it was definitely a big learning curve. And that was just a matter of thinking, how can I sell these cards? I wanted to get them into those sorts of shops. So the only way to do that was to go to those shops and walk in the door and say, here are my cards. Would you like to buy some? So that was the very beginning steps of that. And then around that.
That's pretty gutsy at 21.
Yeah, it just kind of felt like, I guess I'm one of those people that just thinks this is what the end result needs to be. How do I get that? And then even if I feel scared, you just kind of have to do it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get there. Absolutely. So I started doing some networking, and at the time, which is why it feels weird networking now, because I'm no longer the youngest. I was always kind of the youngest and the least business-like, I think, at most of the networking things I went to. But I think I got by on flirting with all the boys and being the ditzy blonde and kind of just accepting the role that I felt at the time, which was I wasn't very experienced. I wasn't a big proper business person. And I was just kind of going with that and being comfortable with that. Even though I felt a bit out of my depth, I kind of just ran with it. But it was great because I then met people who then helped me get more knowledgeable, get more experienced, and develop me as a business person. And then eventually in 2003 set up the design and print business, and then I really went into networking full on. I was full on networker from then on. I set up a local BNI chapter because we didn't have one, and then because I was the kind of the front of launching that helped me connect hugely locally, although I still felt like I was the child in the classroom, if you will, and everybody else was proper grown-up business people.
I think that's an easy one to feel at any point in your journey as well, because there's always going to be someone who's more experienced than you are, and that can feel scary, but it is about going out there and still doing it anyway, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I think I often I was trying to think about what stops me from doing things, and I think often I have quite a big fear of acceptance. Because and I think especially because I don't know if you've ever read the 5 love languages, but I'm a words of affirmation gal. So the thing that matters most to me is being told that I've done a good job or whatever. And so when I get feedback from people, that really impacts me quite a lot. So I have quite a lot of fear there that people aren't going to like it. And I probably I was going to go straight into self-deprecation there, saying I probably do too much, and then I thought, no, I probably don't do too much at all. I don't do anywhere near as much as I should do.
Monkeys playing themselves out again.
Oh, there they go. You see, so there you go. That is one of my fears: is the fact that people aren't going to like me. They're going to think that I'm completely full of nonsense and I don't know what I'm talking about and all of that. So that's one of my biggest fears. But I tend to deal with that by just hurling myself at it and doing it anyway, on the basis that if I'm feeling that way, then other people are probably feeling that way as well. And if I really, really think about it, I do know quite a lot more than the people who are in the room. For example, if I do a workshop or webinar or whatever, they're coming to listen to me because I've had a little bit of experience in that area and can share what I've learned, and they haven't had that experience because they're not me. So they've experienced whatever they've experienced in a different way. So you just got to go for it and feel scared.
I always say that that's part of the entrepreneurial journey anyway. Just accept that you are going to be terrified most of the time, and it's all good.
Yeah, it's a bit like going on a roller coaster, isn't it? Because I remember when we went to Alton Towers last year, and I said I'm not going to go on any of the roller coasters, and then I ended up going on all of them. And we went to go on Rita, and I sat there and I thought it's going to be fine because I've been on some of these other ones and they were fine. I quite enjoyed them. We sat on this one and I sat there going, I don't want to be on this roller coaster. I'm so scared. And then when it went, I have never screamed so much in my entire life. It's one of those G-force things that goes really fast, and I'm not really very good with those ones. So it went screaming. I'm not sure I would want to go on that one again, but I still did it, and I was really glad that I did it. It was a really good experience because it was funny and you can laugh about it afterwards. And I think a lot of the time as an entrepreneur or a business person, you're doing stuff kind of on that approach.
Most of the time. Okay, so I'm going to give you some feedback from the comments. So Anthony's put here, Sophie, I see you as Superwoman with magical tentacles that can accomplish everything. Perception is way off, and I know loads of people just be in awe of some of the things that you achieve as as a mum as well. I mean, you're not just running your own business, you're juggling it all as a mum and a wife and with your husband's business and everything else going on. So incredible. Well done to you.
Well, I hope that I guess people juggling my words now. We all make assumptions about how other people are, don't we, all the time? And I'm often go into major comparison mode and start going, oh, I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing that. Oh my goodness me, I'm just rubbish. I'm going to have to do all these things that I'm not doing. And I think whatever level you're at in business, whether you've just started or whether you've been in it 13 years like I have, I think it's very easy to fall into that. And that's where maybe a bit of experience comes, and having a group of friends, mastermind or a networking group or anything like that, where you're not on your own, where you can say, I'm feeling this way. Is that actually a real feeling, or am I just being ridiculous? And for them to say, no, it's a bright, shiny object. You're fine. You don't need to do that. What are you thinking about? And just to bring you back down to earth, really. I think it's a bit like you suddenly fill with helium when the panic strikes and you start rising up. Everyone else has got to grab the strings and bring you back down again, because you realise that actually you're fine and you don't need to be doing all these different things. But there's so much out there. It's easy to get distracted and think that you and go off track.
Yeah. Well, just one more comment. Just accept the compliment, woman, and lots of hearts going on. So
thank you.
Thank you for it. So you are, as I said at the beginning, you're very visible, and you actually are an enormous inspiration. I know personally, to me, I find you just so inspiring and motivating. You just, she's doing that, I'm just going to push myself a little bit harder. I can do that. So, you know, really well done. What?
And then when you do that, I go, oh my goodness, she's doing that. I've got to do something as well.
And you have to focus, don't you? And focus is one of those big things. And I think we're both quite similar in that we see all these, we've got amazing creativity. We'll see all of these ideas, and it's really knowing what to focus on, because it's so easy to go down the path of what everyone else is doing. That's what you should be doing. And that's not always the case. So in terms of, your visibility, I know you've been doing a lot of things locally as well as things online. I'd just like you to talk through some of those different things that you've been doing. So let's just start with your workshops. I know you've been running those locally. Just tell us a little bit about those.
Well, I've been doing, I guess probably the easiest way, I did that, obviously lots of networking, so I got quite used to talking to people in that way. When I first started networking, I found it very, very scary. I used to stand up with my printed piece of paper and my hands, I'd try and move around a bit so that you wouldn't notice the paper shaking quite so much. And then you get used to talking in front of those 20, 30 people that you see every week, and that becomes second nature. Then you do your 10 minutes and that becomes easier. And then you then start doing other bits and pieces. So then a few years ago, I started doing webinars and online bits and pieces. And I just had a feeling last year that I just wanted to get to know physically my customers a little bit more. I quite like that engagement. I like that local kind of aspect to it, and I also wanted to build my network locally a bit more. I networked like a lunatic for about 7 years, and then I stepped out of it because I got a bit crazy busy. I was doing too many things. I was trying to run 3 businesses and it was all a bit bonkers. And then so I stepped out of that a bit, and I've only just done a little bit of in-person networking at a few groups that I go to quite regularly for the last kind of 3 or 4 years. And then I thought, well, I'd quite like to grow my network in the local area. I'd like to raise my visibility so that when people think about branding, they think about me, whoever that may be, and in whatever circles that may be. So I thought, well, what's a really good way of doing that? So why don't I do a workshop? So I thought I'll do a free workshop. I've done 2. So my first one was in November last year, and I set that up and I thought, great. Is it, wise because of the weather and things? You kind of feel like you only ever want to set up a workshop in about July or June. That's like the whole year that you can ever do one. So I thought, well, we'll go for it because it's probably going to be quite mild. So the November workshop came around, and I think, if I remember correctly, I think I had 50 people register and I had about 30 turn up. So I was pleased with that. And I did my talk and I was quite nervous, but it all went quite well. And I was really pleased with that. And I got a few customers off the back of it that came later, but I really felt like I'd done what I set out to do, which was to get people talking about me locally. So there was a lot of promotion going along. There's a lot of people talking about it, and it felt good. So then, I just point out on that one as well, it was the foggiest night of the entire year on that night. So I was really pleased that 30 people turned up. I was like, I can't believe it. Talk about adding stress to the situation when you get that. So then I thought, well, I'll book another one in January. Again, do you worry about the weather? I've had to cancel things in January before. I thought, oh no, we'll go for it. Frostiest night of the year so far was that one, which is great. Thanks, universe. But that one was good. It was really good. So we had 80 people register. I had about 40 turn up. So it was a disappointment in the sense that there was so much drop off, but it was the frostiest night. And also, as a free event, you do expect between kind of 30 to 50% drop off anyway. But I was really pleased. So we had 40 people in the room, some of whom had come back and brought friends who had been the first time and come back again. So that was good. And then I had a load of new people, and there was actually quite a lot of people there who I'd never met before. I didn't know how they found out about me. So it was really good. And I felt like I'd done my presentation much better, that one as well, because I always look at these things as a practice run for the next one as well, whichever level you're at. So yeah, it felt good. So the next one is going to be in May, again in Norwich. So I'm slow, and I'm going to start promoting that now. just on a slow drip feed, so I'm not hurling it down people's throats for ages. But yeah, no, it feels good to be doing that. It feels good to stand up at the front and to get your message across. It also helps you get a better idea of exactly what you want to be saying, because you're practicing saying it in front of people, and you can come away from it and think, right, what do I need to change? What am I saying that I don't need to change? And normally every time I do a workshop, I come away thinking of what I need to do to simplify it so it's easier to understand for people when they go away next time. So it's great. It's a really great way of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, getting visible, increasing your contact sphere, increasing your credibility, because people see you as actually getting out there and saying, I'm an expert here, listen to me, this is what I've got to say. And then other people saying that they found value from it, so that ticks lots of
and I
boxes.
think what's good about the live version of anything really is you can gauge the feedback very quickly, so you can see what's going to land and what doesn't, and then how you need to adjust it for whether that's on or offline. So I think it's a really good way, as you say, to test how things work and what the feedback's going to be like.
Yeah, it's great. And it's it's a networking event as well as a workshop-y type thing, and I guess we all feel like everyone else is doing it, so therefore, should we really be doing it? But actually, if you look at it, there's not that many people doing it. There's not that many people doing that. Whether you do it free or charged, massive conundrum. I don't know if there's any right or wrong answer to that, but I would say you've just got to look at what you want out of it. And if you're trying to make money out of the event to cover your expenses and various things, then you should probably be charging for it, especially if you're just starting out and you haven't got the funds, because it does cost money to obviously rent the room and do all the bits and pieces and do the promotion, the paid adverts and stuff. It's a few £100 invested in with worksheets and bits. But for me, it's worth that for the exposure and all the other stuff that comes from that.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for sharing that with us. So other things that you've done that I'm just thinking, bigger things off the top of my head, you've done your webinars, and then you've obviously got your challenge. Tell us a little bit about each of those.
Webinars and bits. So I've done webinars for years. I started doing webinars when I was running the Holistic Directory, because I was looking at ways to give more value to the members. So I thought, how could we do that? And one way was, that was kind of before before I was aware of people doing kind of membership clubs and doing monthly webinars and bits and pieces. So it was about 5 years ago. So we did those, and we just did them as a kind of an interview with an expert, and then we would put that into the membership back end so that they could then access that whenever they wanted to watch it. And it was all relevant stuff for holistic business owners, so how they could market their business or create a promotion and all of that sort of stuff. And we didn't do any of them. We started not doing them live. We did them as an interview. That felt good, was doing that on Skype. And then I started doing it with GoToWebinar. We started doing them live and various different things like that. But again, I think that feels scarier to do a webinar than it does to actually do one. Once you've done it, you think, oh, it wasn't anywhere near as hard as I thought, and it wasn't anywhere near as scary as I thought it was going to be. But they're just a great way of getting your message across. And now I do, because we've moved recently, as you know, but not everybody else knows. We were living about 20 minutes away in the middle of a town, and we had really whizzy broadband, so it was fantastic. Where we are now, we're in a 52-acre wood in the middle of, just outside of Norwich, so we're kind of near the city, but our broadband is pretty rubbish. So that has affected what I've been able to do in terms of uploading videos and that sort of stuff. It's definitely had an impact on that, because when I was in Durham, it was so easy to do a video and just upload it. So I totally resonate with anybody who's out there living in the sticks and who has trouble actually getting the internet to connect at all. But there are ways around it. Like the other day, I did a pre-recorded webinar because I wanted to make sure it definitely went on. I had loads of trouble getting it online from here because took forever to upload. But we got there in the end. It took 3 hours to upload the 30-minute video. Great technology. But what you could do as a webinar, if you wanted to get started and get visible without actually terrifying yourself completely in front of other people, is you can just record it as a PowerPoint presentation or as a video, and then go into the local Costa or Starbucks or whatever coffee shop you love who's got Wi-Fi, and then upload it there, and then just put it on a web page, and then you can still build your list to it. and it's an evergreen freebie then, isn't it? So it's great. It's just about getting that value across, isn't it? And I think if you think about it that way, it's just what do my clients need to know, and how can I help them, and how can I get that message across, and just do it. Keep it simple. Webinars are great though. They're fun, and they are actually quite an easy way of just getting your knowledge out there in a way that can help you build your list.
And that's the thing, it's remembering that you want to use it to build your list as well, and then making sure that you've got something in place to make that happen. I know when I did my first one, I would have loved to have, I hadn't even thought of the idea of pre-recording back then, and my first one, I was absolutely terrified. I literally was tapping, because I do EFTs, there's all of this going on. I had lavender candle burning, I was doing meditation, I was doing all sorts of things just to calm down. As soon as I got on the call and I was just talking about what I knew, it was like, I'm loving this is so exciting, and people talking to you, and it was amazing. But it's just that whole fear, and it is pushing through, isn't it, when in the early days, and as you do more and more of them, it's like, what was all the fuss about? It's so easy, but it is taking that first brave step. And as you do it, a bit like your notes at the beginning, you're shaking, and then eventually it just becomes easier and easier the more practice you put in. Brilliant. So that's some really good tips there on those. So what about your challenges? Because I know you did your gratitude challenge, and that's another one that you call evergreen. Now, for lots of people, they don't know what evergreen is. So if you can just give a little bit of an explanation around that as well.
I explained this to my daughter actually the other day on the way to school, because we were talking about, I said something about evergreen. She said, what do you mean? I said, well, like those trees are evergreen trees. They're green all the time. They're just there forever. So evergreen content is content that you do once, and then it's just out there for as long as you want it to be out there. So I've got, because I just like giving things away. I have lots of freebies, which I don't actually, not all of them are even on the website. I've got a ridiculous number of freebies because I keep thinking, oh, that would be a really good one. I'll do that. And then I make something, and then I haven't actually had time to then do anything with it. But I've got loads on networking tips and getting started with social media and getting started with webinars, all sorts of things. And so like the gratitude challenge is one of those, because also, I would probably point out at this point, anybody who has followed me at any point will notice that I quite like planning, and I like systemizing, and I like all of that automation stuff. The reason behind that is because I'm actually not very good at habits, creating a daily habit of things. So much as I would love to be posting out stuff all the time and being able to be there and send out an email every day and do all this sort of stuff, I just am rubbish at it, and I forget. And then the next day, and then you think, oh, it's been a week and I haven't done anything. Oh my goodness, how am I going to come back from this? So the best way for me to do it, the easiest way ever, is to write all the content as if I'm going to be doing it every day, because it will be happening in that format. So the heart, it's all done from the heart. It's all done in a way that as if I was doing it, but then I automate it. So I use Infusionsoft. There's loads. You can use MailChimp. There's loads of different things. Aweber, all these things, where you can set up all your emails. So my gratitude challenge is basically, it's a free challenge just because I really like gratitude, and I discovered it in 2011 when I was doing my NLP practitioner, neuro-linguistic programming. When I was doing that, and I was like, gratitude's going to change my life, whatever. And then I started doing a gratitude diary, and it blew my mind the impact that it had. I felt like I was quite positive, and it made me feel like I'd been super negative, and I'd come on leaps and bounds since I was 20 and had Adelaide and big personal drama. So that's why I'm quite a positive person now. I mean, I'm not positive all the time. I still feel like I've got improvement to go. But I do like being positive, and it does make me look for the positive, and I get my daughter to do it. So we're always looking for positive stuff. So you'll often find me saying, oh yeah, but it does mean that this could happen, or well, let's look for the positive in this situation. And so gratitude is awesome. It's really, really brilliant. So I thought I would like to encourage more people to be grateful, to help create more positivity in their lives. So I thought, well, I'll start a gratitude challenge. And I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. So then I thought, well, let's make it 30 days. And now I've got to write all the content. Now I've told everyone it's going to happen. So then I wrote the 30 days worth of emails, which was such fun, actually, because each day has a different focus of kind of gratitude. So today, let's just smile at somebody, because you never know what they're going through. And if you smile at them, that just might be the thing that makes their life worth living on that day. So that's a good one. Although probably best, I don't know if I even put it in there as a little kind of PS at the bottom. Don't obviously look like some sort of weird psychopath. Someone smile at me really weirdly in a cafe once, and it freaked me out. I was like, oh, do. But that's one of them. And then there's some really positive ones. Then there's some quite challenging ones in there. I think day 21 is one of my favorites, which is a bit challenging. It's really challenging in a positive way, but it's trying to get people to think about kind of the everyday things in life that we have and just be consciously grateful for them, and just to encourage them to do one positive thing each day. And some of the days are literally just write down one thing you're grateful for today. So it's not really complicated. And there's videos and things for them to watch as well. So it's nice and simple. It's kind of done in like the space of less than 5 minutes each day. And then at the end of the 30 days, it's a hurrah celebration. But no, it's just a really nice thing. So people can just kind of log in, get positive emails every day and just get a little bit more positivity. I've had some lovely feedback of people saying I didn't think it would have an impact, and it was amazing actually how much
really
it did.
Lovely. So, having been friends with you for a while now, I know you talk about automation and everything else, and I know you are hot on planning. And yes, if you want to, you can give me a type of your planner. If you've got one in you, put it.
I haven't got very many left. Look, this is my planner. I do use it every day.
Okay. Yeah.
But the A4 ones are all gone. These are the A4 ones. I've got lots of A5 ones left. Well, not lots and lots, but some A5 ones left. They're slowly creeping out the door. But yeah, sold loads of those. It's all very exciting. We're planning the new one for 2017, which is obviously my favourite bit, is doing all the planning of the new things. And we've got lots more goal setting and vision boards and bits and pieces in there, because I love all of that. But I love planning. It helps me. Every day I sit down and I think, right, what have I got to do today? And I'll then brain dump that into there. And I've got online planning tools like Basecamp and all sorts of things, but nothing beats pen and paper for these are the things that absolutely need to get done today. It's my most important task.
I do the remix too. It's really good. I think just setting it up for the day, what you want to do. So what secrets could you share with everyone today on how to make visibility easier with planning?
Oh, well. There is so many ways to be visible. I'm just trying to think of the things that I've done. So I've done webinars, I've done networking, I've done freebies to build my list, so you can kind of class that as advertising.
Just pause a second, just linking it to planning though, because I know you're really hot on like the scheduling side of things, and what would you say if you had to share a secret around that, the planning?
Well, that's kind of the way I was vaguely going, but I'm glad you brought me back in that. There are so many things you can do with podcasts and interviews and social media posts and networking and all this stuff. But if you haven't got a plan, how are you going to even fit it all in the first place? Because if you just look at it as a list of things, it just feels mega overwhelming. And that on top of all the normal stuff that we have as a business owner, with all the accounts and bookkeeping and promotion and marketing and doing the jobs, plus all the other stuff we have in life of what we're going to have for dinner, when have we done the food shop, are we on top of the laundry and everything else? If you haven't got a plan, it does make life harder. It certainly does for me. So if I have a plan, I guess if you wake up and you have one of those days where you think, I haven't got any plans for anything today, you get to the end of the day and you often think, gosh, although I've had a nice relaxing day, I haven't really done a lot. I haven't done anything. I feel like I've kind of wasted my day. And yet when you've had a day where you've planned out that day of what you're going to do tomorrow, right, from this, I'm going to get up at this time, I'm going to walk the dog, then I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Then you get to the end of the day and you think, wow, I've had such a positive, proactive day. I like to create days like that. So that's where you use planning for it. So with social media, get a plan in place of what you're going to do where, because social media is a great example because it's like mega overwhelming. There's some crazy number of social networks, 500 or something ridiculous. Obviously kind of the main 10 now. It used to be 2. It's now getting more and more. But if you haven't got a plan for it, then you'll lose your head. Your head will fall off because it'll just go and then it'll fall off. So you have to have a plan. And it's the same with all of them. So if you're doing a podcast, how often are you going to do a podcast? Write it in the diary of, right, I'm going to map out this month and I'm going to do a podcast on this day, this day, this day. I'm going to do my social media posts at this time on these days. I'm going to send out an email campaign on these days. So I'm going to launch my freebie here. I'm going to do that. Once you've got that plan, then you can just follow it. You're not thinking about it all the time. You can't, it's a bit, yeah, when you've got an idea in your head, I don't know about you, but I have to brain dump it. It's now my best way.
No,
when it's buzzing in my head and keeping me awake at night, yeah, you just go, right, get all of it out of my head in a notepad, and then I can chill out. So planning's the same. Get it out of your head, get it on paper, on screen, whatever works for you, and then you can action it from there. And even if you don't action it all at once, you just create a plan again of how you're going to action these things going forward. So I like to schedule stuff and do it in batches. So I will try and write. So if I'm doing, for example, we've just started lots of social media posts in my raw foodie group. I do too much. There's a raw foodie group, because it was annoying me that we didn't have very much stuff happening in there. I thought, right, we're going to tackle this. I'm going to have different recipes going out every day. So I need to have we're going to do juices on a Monday, smoothies on a Tuesday, raw vegan savoury on a Wednesday, raw vegan sweet on a Thursday, vegan, vegetarian and lifestyle. So we'll do that every day of the week, and we'll schedule it in Edgar. So I then knew that I needed to get a minimum of 30 recipes, which would take us for 30 weeks for each of these different subjects. So I got my trusty right-hand girl Jen and said, look, this is what I want it to be, this is how I want it to be, to read. So today's recipe is da 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 da. Can you please go on and find me at least 30 recipes for each of these, and then we'll roll through. So then she came back and we checked them through, and we're now adding them into Edgar, so they're going to roll out. So we're going to have recipes going out every day. So initially it's what do I want to happen, how can I make that happen, what content do I need, how can I get that content in a way that means, so Jen can go off and do that, and then I can focus on getting some other bits and pieces done, which is great teamwork. And then we can schedule it all into Edgar, and then we're giving value in the course, not in the course, in the group, but we're not having to worry about it and stress about it. So if you can get into a bit of a mindset of what do I want to create, get a plan in place for that, make it happen, and then stop worrying about it. I like that. I think everybody should do more of that.
So one last thing around plans. What plans do you have to be more visible in your business going forward?
How long have you got?
I know what you like. One or two things.
Do you know what I would really love to make happen this year? And I'm just in procrastination zone at the moment, is to do lots of videos. I'd like to do lots more videos. I'd really like to increase my visibility in that way. So I'm going to be doing some more free workshops. I'm going to do at least 3 more this year. Not crazy amounts, but I'm just going to do like 1 a quarter. So that's going to be happening. And I'd also like to set up a little I'm either going to set up my own little TV studio bit in somewhere in the house, and then I'd like to do some really fun interviews with people, like in person. And just basically have a bit more of a video presence, like on YouTube and places like that. That would be one of my main things I'd like to do in terms of visibility, because I really feel like social media I've kind of feel like I've, at least at the moment, no doubt it'll change all again next year, but at the moment I feel like I'm really kind of getting on top of that. So yeah, videos is going to be something I'd like to really make happen this year.
So fantastic tips, so many takeaways from today. It's been really brilliant chatting to you. How can people find out more about you, Sophie?
Google me. It's probably the easiest thing. But no, I've got brandkitchen.co.uk, which is the website for all things like the blog and the podcast and lots of freebies and workshops, anything to do with learning about branding. There's tons of free stuff on there for people to access. And then there's some paid things as well, like my online courses and workshops and bits. So if you're interested in branding and understanding it and kind of getting a little bit of clarity there, then that's a really good way of going into there. If you're interested in working with me on more specific one-to-one basis for businesses with their branding and design and bits, then sophiejewry.com is the place to go. So nice and simple. And I'm everywhere on Facebook and Twitter and all of those sorts of places. But my main haunt is Facebook.
Fantastic. That's lovely. Well, thank you very much for spending time with us today. If you want to chat a little bit with Sophie as well, she's also in my Rock Your Fabulous Biz group. So that's on Facebook. So come and join us over there. We can carry on the conversation if you've got any questions. And until next time, thanks so much, Sophie, for being here. Ciao for now.
Bye.